All right, what's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Just want to recap this fight from the past weekend. Um, Very satisfying fight, as you see in this title. I liked it specifically because of Chris Eubank's performance. Okay, um, hard to predict. I didn't do a prediction because I just didn't know who was going to win. I don't know where James Degale is at this point in his career. He hasn't looked that impressive in the last 5 or so fights. Okay, I think since the Marco Antonio Paraban fight, he hasn't looked that great. I thought he looked great against Degale early, but in the second half of that fight, he kind of like started to, get really tired, and Degale took over in the second half of that fight. But I just don't know, I don't know if he's going to retire or not. I personally think he should retire, because it's been several fights now where you're not really looking that impressive, and it seems like every single fight you're looking worse than the previous fight, okay? This is the worst I've seen James Degale. And when it comes to Chris Eubank, he's just a guy that I don't know how good he is. I see that I think he has potential. But how long am I going to keep saying that he has potential? I mean, he's been fighting as a pro for a good amount of time now, He fought Saunders, lost. He lost to George Groves. All right, George Groves actually, in my opinion, kind of dominated that fight. So I don't know if this guy is gonna lose every time he steps up. All right. Obviously, Degale is not where Groves is at this point in his career. I mean, Groves beat him years ago. They were both much younger, but I just didn't know where to go with this one. Does Degale have anything left? And is Eubank really going to shock us and look impressive when he steps up? All right. So the reason why I say that this fight was satisfying is because the first round really bothered me. I didn't like the way that Degale was fighting. He was lunging in a lot to hold. Okay. I thought he was landing some good lead lefts throughout the fight. But that was the only thing that he really threw throughout the fight. There was no jabs. There was no combinations, no uppercuts. It was just that one punch that he kept throwing. He was just coming in with the straight left, or he was just coming in the hold. All right, a lot of holding, a lot of clinching. I didn't like the referee. He was really annoying me because he would warn Eubank over and over again to stop punching while they were in the clinch, and not warn Degale in the same way to stop holding. Degale was just trying to hold. He was trying to survive as early as round one. When I say Degale hasn't looked that impressive in his recent fights, he didn't look that impressive, but at least he still fought, I saw a variety in punches that he was throwing in other fights, even when he lost to Truax, and when he was having a tough time against Bottle Jack and Paraban and all of these other fights that he's had recently. This fight, it was just like it was nothing there, and I'm like, James Degale that's this limited is not a James Degale that should still be fighting. He had a good career. He had a solid career. I personally think he should just retire. It's too much of a difference in him in every single fight. But Chris Eubank in that second round and the way that he fought for the remainder of the fight, I loved it. I like when a fighter is getting held and he fights his way out of it, He made it very physical. He did a lot of pushing. He was throwing a lot of wild punches. He was fighting like it was a street fight. And in that instance, when a fighter is holding you or just throwing one punch and leaning in to hold you because they don't want you to counter, that's the way you fight a man that does not want to fight. This guy wants to survive. He does not want to really fight you. Regardless of all the shit that they were talking to each other before the fight, the buildup of this fight, this guy, Degale, did not want to fight this man. And Chris Eubank went after him. He chased him around, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. I wasn't even necessarily rooting for Chris Eubank. I'm not even a fan of him like that. But I like the way he was fighting him, you know? And you have to do that sometime, and it worked for him. You know, I don't think it's gonna work for everyone. It didn't work against George Rose. It's not gonna work with everyone. You know, super middleweight. There's a lot of good fighters up there. The top fighters, you know, you got Benavidez up there. You got Caleb Plant up there. You know, you got a lot of fighters up there. But this fight, it looked good for Eubank, and this was his most impressive win. And this is the most impressive he's ever looked to me in his career. Okay? He got the job done. Didn't do too much talking in the ring and sticking his tongue out. You see James Degale doing everything to get in his head. You're doing all that, but you're losing rounds. All right? James Degale, I didn't even score it because I just thought Eubank was clearly ahead. I think Degale won a few rounds here and there, but even the part where Eubank lifted him up and slammed him on the ground, I even like that because this guy was leaning on him all of the time. And you know, when I seen this fight, I'm thinking of Klitschko. I'm thinking of Klitschko against Fury. I'm thinking of Klitschko against Povetkin. I'm thinking of those fights because I remember when he fought Povetkin, when Klitschko fought Povetkin, Klitschko was doing a lot of things that James Degale was doing in this fight. But Povetkin didn't fight his way out of it. He wasn't being aggressive. He was showing too much respect for Klitschko. It was too much sportsmanship there for a guy that is kind of cheating to get his win. All right? Yeah, Klitschko was landing shots, but Klitschko was playing it way too safe, and the ref didn't warn him. And I didn't want this fight to be the same fight. And it wasn't because of the way Eubank decided to fight. Even in the Fury fight where Klitschko is literally down on points, clearly. And he's still lunging in to hold. It was annoying the hell out of me in that fight. So it was good for me to see Eubank fight his way out of it, even though the ref was warning him over and over. It was annoying. But Chris Eubank did what he had to do in order to win this fight and in order to dominate, in my opinion. All right? James Degale, like I said, I think he should retire. Obviously, he can still fight. Obviously, he can beat guys up. But as far as fighting the absolute elite at 168, I really don't think he competes with those guys. If he wants to fight to get a check and just be a name to go through, that's on him. I don't think he has to. I think he's done enough. He's collected some solid wins in his career. And, you know, if he's financially good, why continue to fight? You know, but this is boxing. I'm not a boxer. These guys are going to do what they want. Chris Eubank, on the other hand, very impressive. Still want to see how he does, matches up with some of the superior boxers in his division. I don't know how he's going to do against these other guys. He still can be outboxed, okay? But I like what I saw in this fight, you know. I think there's still room for improvement, but I like what I saw. So I just want to see more. I think, you know, I'm in the video with this. I think Chris Eubank, I have more of an understanding now of who he is, okay? This is not a guy that I think is going to be unifying a bunch of titles. I don't see him as that good. But I do think he's championship level. I do think he can beat some of the top guys, just not all of them, you know? So I think he's very explosive. I like to watch him fight. But I just don't know if he's the absolute best. I'm not saying that. All right? I think he's somewhere in the middle as far as the top 5, 6 at super middleweight, you know? So anyway, that's my thoughts on the fight. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys hit subscribe. And I got a video on Joe Joyce. I'm going to do a video on him next. All right, peace.